What's going on, everyone? Gilman with Wellthy Stocks, back with our daily Apple update video where we take a look at how Apple stock traded today, key levels of support and resistance that we are looking at moving into the future, and based on that, what we think Apple stock could do. So real quick, if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to hit that like button down below, subscribe to my channel if you are new, and comment down below what your thoughts on Apple are, and I'd love to chat with you guys down there. I apologize, I know I usually upload at pretty much the exact same time, around 4:30 Central, but here in Dallas we've had some snow coming in, more snow than we've ever gotten really, or gotten in a while, and so we've had really bad power outages, and when there is power we don't have Wi-Fi, so I was not able to make the video. And just a heads up, it might be like that for the next couple of days is what they're telling us. We get power for like 4 or 5 hours in the entire day, so it's pretty bad, but I have power now, I have internet now, so we're making this video. Let's get right into it. Let me hit record. I know a couple of you guys were asking because it was a little bit of a red day for Apple, so let's get right into the analysis. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to upload this video, to be 100% honest with you, but let's see. So the first thing that I want to really quickly cover is, yes, we were red on the day. We were down $2.18, and that's 1.61%. We're down another 54 cents in the after hours, which is about 0.41%. Comparing that to the major indexes, right, we did have the NASDAQ being down 0.34%. And then we did have the Dow Jones, which was actually up, and the Dow Jones actually hit a record high today, as you could see, before it kind of pulled back just a little bit to the close. And then the S&P was pretty much flat, down a little in the after hours. So compared to that, Apple was relatively weak. Even the NASDAQ, which was down 0.3%, we're down 1.61, right? So relatively weak for Apple. Let's take a look at some key pieces of news that came out though. The first one is kind of a bad news, right? So Warren Buffett cuts their stake in Apple from 5.6 to 5.4%. That doesn't necessarily mean that, they don't believe in Apple anymore. What I do think though, I'm currently invested in Verizon as well. I just think Verizon's an oversold name currently. So I think that, Warren Buffett is moving a little bit of money around. And then Chevron, as we all know, oil got beat up a little bit. If we take a look at, Chevron's chart, I'm sure we'll see, a little bit of a negative kind of, if we zoom out to a year, that's when we really see, okay, it does have potential to even reach this peak that it did back in July. That'd be another 10%, or even the kind of low hundreds that it was trading at pre-pandemic. So I don't think it's necessarily as much of a disbelief in Apple as it is a bet on those other companies to start to do well, especially as we get more vaccines out and, more people vaccinated and stuff like that. The other thing that I want to talk about is, and we talk about this over and over again, but there was a little bit of news here that talked about the fact that Apple is probably going to see their car in the next 6 months. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Yeah, so Wedbush came out and said, we should get Apple unveiling the electric vehicle partnership or collaboration in the next 3 to 6 months as the sector enters a golden age of consumer demand, tax credits, and affordable models. So that's what we're saying, right? They could be with Hyundai, Tesla, Ford, NIO, Volkswagen. All those could be great for both the company that they're going with as well as Apple. So we'll see if we get any news on that. They have a price target of $175 on Apple. So that's definitely a bullish sentiment as well. Now let's take a look at what happened today really quick, talk about future levels of support, future levels of resistance, and what I'm personally looking at. Granted, I'm not able to actively trade in this environment, sadly, but we could still do a little bit of analysis, right? So we closed here in the 135s. And pre-market, which is when I did have power, it looked pretty good. We were hitting that 136 level, thought maybe we could bounce off of that, start to push up, but it became very clear, right, that we were coming below that level. And then as we do typically, we pushed up, right? We pushed up right out of the gate. Again, with Apple, the trend, again, not always, but typically has been we push up one way or we push down, and then we do the exact opposite of that for the rest of the day. So here we see a push up 136, 5 cents away from our level, and then we came right back down, and it looked to find a decent level of support here in the 134 70s, right? You see it bouncing, going up, bouncing at the same level, going up, kind of bouncing again, dropping below, going above, VWAP rejection, and then we went straight down, tried to stop at this line that we drew, which was kind of the top end coming down that we were expecting rejection from. couldn't quite make it, and then we were just hanging out at this level, right? So broke below our 133.45 level after bouncing on it once, try to push up, couldn't break through, try to push up, broke through, but then came right back down, and then came back. 132.81 was the low, hovered around here, and then as you can see, we were hitting up against this 133.45 level. Key thing to notice here, you guys, is whether we were above it or below it, this 133.45 was acting as a little bit of a magnet for the second half of the day, right? So that's kind of the key thing to focus at. Now let's really quickly take a look at the daily chart. I think today was a pretty important day, and I'm sad that I kind of missed it, but we didn't really see the bounce that we were hoping for. No better way to put it, no other way to put it really. This trend line that we had drawn kind of, from way back here was what we were looking at. Didn't find a bounce there. I'm still hopeful that we see a bounce though, assuming the markets are not looking terrible like they did today. Not terrible as in, everything's dropping. The stocks that I look at though, mostly like Palantir, Neo, Apple, Tesla, they were all a little bit red on the day. So what are we at? Well, I think we are at a pretty important point, because in the next couple of days, we will find some answers, right? And what are those answers? Well, the first answer is, hey, this trend line here, do we see a bounce there or no? Clearly we broke through it, right? But that doesn't concern me just yet. If we start to hit up and we find resistance here, that's what sort of worries me, because it means maybe we aren't following this trend line anymore. The second thing that I'm looking at here is this 34 EMA, right? So if I zoom out just a little bit, you guys, I'm going to get rid of the drawings for just a second, and what we will see is, look, here we visited the 21 EMA back in December. 21 EMA, right? So remember, our first level of support, 8 EMA, then 21, then 34, then 55, then 89. So 34 is the third level of support, right? Here we go to the second level of support, 21. Here back in early January, we go down to the third. We go down to the third again, we go down to the third again. Since then, we came on that huge run. We came back down. Where did we bounce? We bounced right at this 34 EMA, you guys. So here we did dip below it, right? But we closed right at it. So here you could see we closed right at it. Next day we had a little bit of a candle, and then that's when the run really started. Here we closed pretty close to it, and then we had a green day the next day. So you can kind of see that, right? We visit this 34 EMA, excuse me, and then we push up and then we visit the 34 EMA again. We're doing that right now. And I think it's really important for us to bounce at the 34 EMA, or at least use that as a little bit of a support. Now, it's not super promising right now, not gonna lie, because that 34 EMA, as you'll see right there, is at 133.25 right now. And our level of support, our level of support, which is the 34 EMA, is at 133.25. We are at 133.19, even lower in the after hours. So that's not very promising. If I'm being 100% honest, it's not very promising. But what we have to look forward to tomorrow is, can we capture this 8 EMA? Can we have this where we were, a little bit below it, but we came back, right? Can we attempt a takeover of the 34 EMA? And how does the stock react when we get to the 34 EMA? So that's what I'm going to be looking at mostly tomorrow, if I have power on my phone, whatever I can. Otherwise, I think, we do have a little bit of run room down to the 130 level, which isn't a crazy fall, but it is another $3 drop. So that's what I'm looking at, you guys, watching for that 34 EMA to hold, hopefully 133.20s to come back and be able to recapture that. Otherwise, we do have a little bit of run room down to the mid 130s. Now let's talk a little bit more support and resistance that we have. So again, waiting for this trend line to see if it's still valid. Maybe it is. Maybe we get a bounce a little bit lower and we just move this trend line down to see if it holds for the next time. Or maybe it's just not valid at all. So we'll see in the next couple of days, right? It needs to really push up past the 134 to hold this trend line. So we'll see if we see that in the next couple of days. From levels of support and resistance, again, we've got a couple things happening. The first level of support we have is this 34 EMA in the 133.20s. Then we have this 132.50s. Then we have the mid 131s, and then that takes us to the mid 130s with the 55 EMA. So the support levels are about $1 apart, you guys. Not crazy falls, but I'm closely watching, again, like I said, 34 EMA, because if not, I think we have the potential to drop all the way down to this 130.40s level, with these two potentially acting as a little bit of a support. From the push up, what we have coming up is exactly where we got rejected today, right? We were above that in the pre-market, like we said, but we got rejected during the normal times. That's the 136 level. And then since we were making lower highs, over the course of the past or we were making lower highs, right? These highs become the next resistance level that I'm looking at on the way to 138. So 138, so after 136, 138.40s is kind of the next real level of support, resistance. But I'm looking at these along the way, right? So I'm looking at 136.39, I'm looking at 136.99, I'm looking at 137.88 before I'm looking at this mid 138s, and then I'm looking for the push towards 140. What really needs to happen though, I'm not as focused on the 138 and 140 right now as I am a bounce off the 34 EMA, how it acts at that 134 EMA and this trend line that we said, right? So tomorrow, what I'm looking at is, hey, are we above 133.25? And if we do go below it, or if we go towards it, do we see a bounce at that level? And how are we acting at this trend line? Are we able to get on top, or every time we hit against it, right? Because what could happen is we could take over this 34 EMA, but we could still get rejected in the 134.20s, because that's the trend line. So again, those two things are what I'm watching. Once we get a clearer indication of that, that's when I can kind of be like, okay, we are capturing the 34 EMA. You know, I think that we have the chance to turn around, but you know, if we don't see that and we are just red again on the day tomorrow, then you know, it's a matter of where we find support, whether that's at 132, 131, or we do end up falling all the way to the 55 EMA. So as always, you know, I appreciate you guys watching. Again, I don't know when I'll have power tomorrow. I'll try my best to upload at my normal times, assuming I have power and Wi-Fi to be able to do so. If not, you know, I'll try to upload, you know, whenever I do have power. Yesterday, we didn't have power at all. That's why I couldn't make any videos. But I appreciate all your guys' support. Thank you for everything that you guys do and all the kind words down in the comment section. Hopefully, if you guys are in Texas, you're staying warm and safe. Let's remember, that's all I had for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I saw a couple comments from you guys, so I really wanted to make this for you guys. So appreciate all you guys again. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.